Hello, I'm Mr. Bursten. Welcome back to another supplemental video. This is the supplemental video for lesson 08. So we have just learned about if, else if, and else, or elif. And now we want to be able to use this within our program. So you can see I already have a brief program description here. So I have my header up here with my name, the class, and the date. And then we have the purpose of this assignment is to create a grade calculator by taking two inputs from our user and returning with a percentage and their letter grade, right? So not only we want to do a little bit of calculating. We also want to be able to tell the user exactly how much they got. And to do this, to help facilitate this, we have a flowchart available as well. All right, so let's take a look at that right now. So we have a few different things that we need to accomplish within our flowchart. But right now, right this instant, I really only want to focus on this very first thing right up here, the input. So the input request that the student put in the grade they got. So let's go ahead and start with that. We're going to call this one student score, and we will say that this is equal to an int input. So remember, an int input is specifically saying to Python, I want you to change this input, which normally takes things in as a string, right? It normally takes things in as word, and we want to change it to an integer. So int input, what is the score you got? All right. Now my next step on my flowchart, again, we come back to this one, is input request that the student put the total grade the assignment was out of. All right. So now we're going to get total score. Again, int input, what was the assignment out of? Boom, boom. Now remember, I'm putting two parentheses here because if I open right down here with the first parenthesis, int opens with a parenthesis, input opens with a parenthesis, I need to close off both of those parentheses. And we can see that happen when I press the first one. We see that first part get highlighted, and we get the second part highlighted. So remember, we always want to match our opening with our closing. All right, save. Now we need to do a little bit of math. So let's take a look back at our flowchart here real quick. So the process, we want to calculate the score in a percentage that the student received. So I have my little formula here that should be our total score. So the score that the student got is the student score divided by the total score times 100. So let's go ahead and do that. So we have score equals student score divided by total score times 100. And I'm going to put this in parentheses just to make sure that everything runs in the order I want it to. So remember, we want to get this division problem done first, and then we're going to multiply it by 100 so that way we can see the percentage. Now let's take a look back at what we're going to do. Process, we're going to print out a percentage, print out the percentage that the student received in a print command, and so it will say something like you received a score and then a percent symbol after that. So again, let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to do print. We're going to say you received a score of, and then we're going to put in our score, and then a percentage symbol like so. Let's save. And now I don't even want to continue going right now. I want to run this as it is. I want to see that I have the correct behavior going on. So what was the score that I got? We'll say that it was an 80-point assignment and I got a 57 out of 80. Oh, here we go. We have an error. So let's take a look at what our error is. You received a score, can only concatenate string, not float to string. So remember, we must convert any number to a string. Let's try that again. Save and run. What is the score you got? A 57 out of 80. There we go. You received a score of 71.25%. Excellent. So we can see that the first part of our program is already working. Now, here comes the difficult part, right? Here comes the part with the if statements. So we have a decision to make. Did the student receive a score over 100? So we are going to say if score is over or greater than 100, then, remember, we don't type out the word then, we just have a colon after this. When I press enter and idle, you can see that I automatically receive this space. So if score is over 100, then print, you got extra credit. Great job. There we go. That's the message to our user. All right. Now, again, save and run. Let's take a look for correct behavior. So again, we'll say that I got an 82 out of 80 this time. You received a score of 102.499 whatever percent. You got extra credit. If only I spelled extra correctly. There we go. You got extra credit. Great job. So we can see that our if statement is working properly. Now, from this point forward, I want to use elif. Let's take a look back at our flowchart, because if we have a false, right? So did the student receive a score over 100? This was true, so we printed out a message. But let's say it's false, so then we want to move on to the next decision. We want to say, did the student receive a score equal to or over 90? So take special note here, equal to or over 90. So let's return. So elif score, if I could spell, score is greater than or equal to 90, then I want to print out you got an A. Good job. Okay, so again, we verify for correct behavior. What was the score that you got? We'll say that this time I got a 75 out of 80. That would be a 93.75%. It says you got an A. Good job. Take note, it did not print out you got extra credit because we didn't get extra credit. We didn't get over 100. So our last elif statement that I'm going to go over here, you have a little bit more to do on your assignment, but fear not, I've given you the tools to do the rest of your assignment. So last thing, did the student receive a score equal to or over 80? So now if they receive that, then they got a B, right? So score, again, can't spell, score greater than or equal to 80. Print, you got a B. Nice job, right? B is still pretty good. So let's go ahead and save and run this. And now we'll say that this time around I got a 70 out of 80. So it says you received a score of 87.5%. You got a B. Nice job. That is the basic setup of our elif statement. Now remember, we have more to do after this, right? You need to have an input for C, D, and F. One special note I will make about F in particular is that when we reach the end of our code, when we reach the end of this decision tree, we're saying that if a student got less than a 59%, then that would be an F. But I would contend to you, right? We don't actually have to say elif score less than or equal to 59. We can instead just say at the very end, else. All right, so let's take this as an example here. We'll say else print you got a C or less. Okay? I want to take a look at how this functions, okay? Now, this is within the context of our code. Again, remember, your assignment asks you to do a little bit more. I want to see A, B, C, D, and F, okay? But take this as an example. So we'll say that I got, let's say I did horrible on this. Let's say I got a 50 out of 80. Well, not horrible, but 50 out of 80. Says I received a score of 62.5%. You got a C or less. Now note that 62%, right, that is a D. That's not a C anymore, that's a D, but I made this say, okay, well, I don't know what the user got, but I know that it must be less than a C. So I said, you got a C or less. All right. One last thing I would like to go over before we end off. Let's go ahead and save this as is. I want to talk about what would happen. So the question I'm sure that you may have in your head is, well, from lesson 7, we just use the if statement, right? So we'll just say that if score is less than 80, right? Why can't this work? Why do we have to use elif? I'm going to show you using an incorrect flowchart. So using just the if statement, this is now what we're asking. We're saying, okay, input, process, that's all the same. But now my process is actually going into each of these decisions individually. And there is no behavior if a decision is false. So if it gets to the decision, did the student receive a score over 100? True. Then inform them that they got extra credit. Did they receive a score over 90? True. So on and so forth. Let's take a look at the behavior now. Let's say that I again got an 82 out of 80. I got every single message, right? Because again, I want us to take a look at this. So I got 102%, right? Let's take a look back at my flowchart here. We start with our process. We ask, did the student receive over 100? Yes, they did, so they got extra credit. The student also received a score over 90, right? 102 is over 90, just the same as it's over 100, so they received an A. Did the student receive a score equal to or over 80? Yes, they did, so I also received a B. So on and so forth down the line. So, take special note that elif says to Python, once I have found a true statement, then I stop. Taking a look back at our correct flowchart says the process, the decision was true. We run this last process, and then Python is done. There is nothing more to run because we did not hit this false statement. We only had the true one. All right, I hope this helps you on your homework. Again, you can always email me if you have questions or ask me in class. Hope you are having a good day.